The ship was shaped like a crescent folded in on itself, matte black and silent as it hovered just meters above the Mojave sand. It hadn't landed, not fully, more like it had paused, as if unsure whether it belonged on Earth or not. The air was still. The desert wind had stopped. The lights in the nearby outpost flickered once and died. Kellan Rourke stepped out of his rusted Ford pickup, shielding his eyes from the heat shimmer. He wasn't military, not in the strictest sense. Contracted logistics consultant, he'd say if someone pressed him. Civilian clearance. Used to move cargo for overseas ops before retiring early to the desert where no one asked questions. But this wasn't cargo. The craft's seamless surface rippled, a section opening with a sigh like steam escaping a pressure valve. Kellan had no weapons on him. He wasn't cleared for them. Still, he took a step forward, boots crunching on sun-baked gravel. A figure emerged, tall but not imposing. Its limbs were long, skin almost translucent with hints of green and blue beneath. Its eyes, wide and unblinking, fixed on him. "Are you the human-designated Kellan Rourke?" The voice sounded both inside and outside his head, like it was trying to decide which method worked better. "I am," he said, not moving. "You landed on my outpost. This location was selected based on topological neutrality and low interference. Your designation is adequate. Appreciate the compliment." There was a pause, and then the alien moved closer, each step unnervingly smooth. It carried a thin silver case which it extended toward him. "We require memorization of a navigational map. The data cannot be stored digitally. Our systems have been compromised. The map must be carried organically. You want me to carry it, you must learn it, verbally, perfectly. Error is unacceptable. The route spans 73 binary star systems and 6 unstable wormholes. If a single turn is misremembered, the consequences are irreversible." Kellan blinked at the case. "You sure you've got the right guy? You scored in the 99th percentile for auditory memory and spatial recall in your previous testing for military logistics. You also have no current obligations and are within optimal age range. You were selected based on efficiency." "Glad to know I'm efficient." Without asking, the alien opened the case. Inside was a thin, flexible screen displaying a constantly shifting 3D star map. Lines bent and flowed as if reacting to some invisible tide. The sheer complexity of it made Kellan's stomach tighten. The alien tapped a control. The map shrank into symbols, coordinates, angles, time windows, rotations relative to gravitational fluxes. Then it spoke again. "You have 1 hour." Kellan looked at the map, then back at the alien. "This isn't something most people can memorize in a lifetime. You are not most people." He huffed and stepped forward. The screen began scrolling the route. A droning, musical tone accompanied each shift, almost like a melody. He narrowed his eyes. "Wait, play that again." The alien tilted its head. "You detect a pattern. I think I can turn this into a song." The alien stayed silent. "Seriously, it's got rhythm. The directions, each cluster of coordinates, it's like a verse. If I sing it, I can remember it." "That is acceptable, as long as the path is retained exactly." Kellan exhaled and pulled out his phone, tapping the voice recorder. "All right. Let's see what we can do." For the next 58 minutes, he listened, rewound, sang, tuned the pitch to match the alien's tonal cues. He paced, sang again, adjusted for timing. The melody was odd, somewhere between jazz and Gregorian chant, but it worked. Every shift in the route had a tone. Every correction had a syncopated repeat. He didn't understand the language, but the flow gave it structure. With 2 minutes to spare, he stopped. "I think I've got it." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Demonstrate." Kellan cleared his throat and began to sing. No words, just tones and inflections, rising and falling with the route. A minute in, the alien's posture shifted. 2 minutes later, it rotated its head slightly, a gesture Kellan guessed meant approval. "Perfect replication, you have done it." "Yeah," he said, rubbing at his temple. "But I'm not gonna lie. That was like cramming an entire university physics degree into a barbershop quartet. We are departing." "Wait, hold on. Departing where? You are the vessel now. You will accompany me to the relay point. If your memory fails during transit, we will be lost." "You didn't tell me I was going anywhere. You were selected based on availability and adaptability. You are now committed." Before he could argue, the ship's opening widened. He backed up a step. Look, I've got a cat and a mortgage. And we have secured your residence, erased your debt record, and provided for your domestic companion. You took care of my cat. Yes, she is now in a habitat with optimal sunlight and protein-based nutrition. Kellan stared. Then, slowly, he sighed. You could have led with that. He followed the alien into the ship. Inside was quiet, the floor humming underfoot. The walls pulsed faintly with light. He was guided to a seat molded to fit him, which adjusted as he sat. The alien sat across from him, hands resting in a bowl of soft blue gel. We depart now. The ship lifted without sound. A shimmer passed through the walls as gravity shifted, but Kellan only clenched the armrest once. The stars outside twisted, and then the ship was gone from Earth. The first hour passed in silence. Kellan tried not to think about what would happen if he forgot a single note, or if the alien decided he was no longer useful, or if the ship tore itself apart in a gravity well due to one flat note in his memory. "What's your name?" he asked eventually. The alien blinked. "I am Tarsik." "Okay, Tarsik, how long until we reach the first marker, 3 Earth hours?" Kellan leaned back. "All right, wake me in 2, I need to rest my brain." "You will be monitored. Neural activity must remain stable." "Fine, just don't play any elevator music." He closed his eyes. The hum of the ship lulled him into sleep faster than he expected. He awoke to a sharp noise. Tarsik was standing, eyes fixed on the wall. "What's going on?" "We are being pursued." Kellan sat up. "By what?" "Automata. Remnants of the ones who corrupted our systems. They seek the map." "Great. Can they be reasoned with?" "No." The ship jolted. Kellan hit the wall, catching himself on the edge of the control console. "Are we armed?" "No. Our route is designed to evade, not confront." He stood, wobbling slightly. "Then we need to stay exactly on course." "Correct." Kellan took a deep breath. "Play the first section. I'm singing it." Tarsik tapped a control. The musical line began. Kellan sang. The ship turned as he sang the next section. The rhythm kept time with the course changes. Each pitch matched a trajectory. Each breath was a wormhole aperture. Outside, light bent violently as the ship shifted through space, narrowly avoiding a crackling beam from the pursuers. The walls strained, the hum grew louder. Kellan's voice cracked once. The ship dipped. Tarsik corrected instantly. "Maintain tonal consistency." "I'm doing my best." The chase lasted an hour. Kellan sang the entire route, sweating, his throat raw. When the final note faded, the ship burst into a calm region of space. The automata didn't follow. Tarsik turned to him. "You have succeeded." Kellan collapsed into the seat, chest heaving. "Water, I need water." A tube extended from the wall. He drank deeply. "You will rest now," Tarsik said. "We resume the second segment in 12 hours. Kellan didn't argue. He slept for 13. When he woke, the ship was docked inside a station orbiting a dying star. Tarsik was gone. The door slid open, and a second alien entered, a shorter one with a rounder face and a metallic device around its neck. "You are the map singer." "I guess I am. You will perform again." "The final segment must be verified before upload." Kellan stood, throat still sore. "I need tea. We have synthesized leaf extract with warming fluid." "Close enough." He drank. Then sang again. This time the station pulsed with light as he sang. The map was being transferred. Each note layered the coordinates into the system. The station's core adjusted for the route. When it was done, the alien nodded. "It is complete. The relay is restored." Kellan leaned against the wall, spent. "Good, I'd like to go home now. You will be returned. Your role is concluded." Within minutes, he was back on the ship. Tarsik didn't speak. The return was quiet back in the Mojave. The ship shimmered and vanished before the heat could even settle. Kellan stood in the sand, blinking at the blue sky. His phone still had the song. He hit play. The melody filled the air. Strange, beautiful, dangerous. He smiled, turned, and walked back to his truck. His cat was waiting. Kellan sat on the examination table with his shirt off, trying not to flinch as the alien technician waved a wand-like device over the base of his skull. The thing hummed faintly and left a faint trail of green light that faded just as quickly. The room smelled like warm mineral oil and ozone. The overhead fixtures pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm, almost like the station had a heartbeat. "Still not sure why I need a full neural scan," he said, wincing as the wand pressed a little too firmly near his temple. I already sang the damn thing twice. The technician, a pale, octopus-limbed being with a glinting ring of lenses suspended around its head, didn't answer. It tapped a screen with two of its longer digits, then produced a series of chirps that bounced off the walls. Another alien entered shorter, with a coat of dense, overlapping plates that hissed softly as it moved. You retained the route, yes, the new one said, adjusting a device on its arm, but we must understand how. Your neural architecture is inconsistent with our models. Human brains aren't built like yours, Kellan replied. We're messy. We make do. That is evident. The technician stepped back, the wand retracted into the wall, a panel slid open, revealing a seat with a nest of cables and cushioning. Kellan didn't move. Okay, now what? A comparative scan while you recall the sequence. We will overlay your brain's electrical patterns with the stored map and track variances. Kellan eyed the seat. Is it gonna hurt? No, he climbed in, the cushions adjusting to cradle his neck and shoulders. A faint buzz started at the base of his spine, spreading upward like carbonation. One of the lenses hovered in front of his eyes and began projecting the first sequence segment. Don't sing it aloud, the plated alien said. Just remember. Kellan nodded, the tones played once. Then again, he closed his eyes. The melody unfolded in his mind, and he followed the route, each shift in tone corresponding to a turn, a gravitational slingshot, a dive through the edge of a collapsing star system. It was still all there, as vivid as if he'd memorized a childhood song. The machine clicked. The technician made a low, vibrating sound that Kellan guessed was surprise. What is it? He asked without opening his eyes. There is no degradation. The pattern is intact. Your hippocampal activity is elevated but stable, meaning you are still carrying the route. All of it? Of course I am. You told me the galaxy would implode if I didn't. The technician chirped again. The plated alien stepped forward, peering into the scanner's readout. You cross-reference auditory memory with spatial modeling using emotional encoding, it said. You assign emotional weight to each directional cue. That appears to be your retention method. Weight, like feelings. Yes, you associate the map's segments with emotionally charged memory clusters. That is what makes it stable. Kellan opened one eye. So I'm remembering wormhole coordinates by what reliving breakups and near-death experiences. Among other things, he laughed. That's so human it hurts. The technician tilted a lens toward him. That was not a joke. I know. The scan ended with a soft chime, the cables retracted. Kellan stepped out of the seat, rolling his shoulders. So what now? You've got your map, I've got a headache, we done here? There has been a complication, the plated alien said. Of course there has. 2 more routes have been compromised. The enemy is adapting. The original map is no longer sufficient. Kellan sat back down on the table, groaning. Let me guess, you need me to learn another song. 3, said the technician. I'm not a jukebox. No, you are a vector. He stared at them both. Look, I helped you once. I didn't sign up for a galactic concert tour. You are the only viable candidate. Our memory transfer systems remain unusable, and your method, though unorthodox, has proven unreplicatable. Kellan rubbed his eyes. I'm gonna need tea and a sandwich. Maybe a week of sleep. There is no time, he looked up. Of course there isn't. They led him to a different chamber. This one was darker, the walls covered in shifting star fields that responded to his movement. In the center hovered a translucent orb about his height, vibrating faintly with a sound like distant thunder. This is the new route set, the plated alien said. It is more volatile. The calculations shift with stellar decay, so the sequence must be memorized with dynamic flexibility. Kellan stared at the orb. Meaning, you must be able to adjust the song mid-performance, he blinked. Improvise. Yes. Based on real-time gravitational data. You want me to freestyle hyperspace directions. That is correct. He didn't move for a while. Then, without turning, he said, You got a keyboard. The technician chirped and gestured. A projection unfolded from the floor, forming a flat surface with keys marked in strange, color-shifting patterns. I'll need to rewrite the melody around a structure I can bend, Kellan said. Something elastic. Jazz won't work. Too slippery. Maybe modal folk patterns, they're stable but flexible. You will compose now. No, I'll start now. Composing implies I know what I'm doing. He placed his hands on the keys. The notes weren't like earth tones, each one shimmered with harmonics that made the air ripple, but he found a scale. Then a rhythm, the orb pulsed in response. As he played, it shifted, revealing new segments of the route. He adjusted, letting the melody loop and evolve. Instead of assigning emotions like before, he tried anchoring each change to a physical sensation, a tightening in his chest, a tingling in his fingers, a pressure behind his eyes. The route became a sensory experience. Hours passed. The technician monitored silently. The plated one left and returned with a thin disc that dissolved into mist when it entered the room. Kellan stopped playing only when the lights dimmed. "I need to rest," he said, voice hoarse. "Your cerebellar function has increased by 23%, the technician replied. "That is within safe parameters. For now, neat, doesn't change the fact that I'm about to faceplant." They let him sleep in a chamber with a bed that adjusted to his breathing. No dreams, just darkness. When he woke, his throat was dry and his fingers ached. The technician waited outside. "We begin testing." They led him to a room filled with sound. The new map was already playing subtle tonal shifts that mimicked the gravity curves of collapsing systems. He sang back, adjusting for each ripple. The chamber responded, displaying the projected course. When he drifted half a beat off, a wall turned red. When he corrected, it faded. By the sixth trial, he was matching the route in real time. "You are ready," the technician said. "Ready for what?" "To navigate the torshell collapse. You will guide the last courier vessel through." Kellan sat down on the floor. "Let me guess, it has to be done manually." "Yes, the automated navigators fail within the distortion field. Only a live vector can compensate." "I hate how that makes sense." "There are no alternatives," he looked up. "This ship I'll be flying through. What happens if I miss a beat? You will cease. Just me, and the vessel, and its occupants. And the relay data it carries." "Awesome. You must depart within the next local cycle." He stood, stretching his arms. "I want a name. A name for the route, something to call it, makes it easier to remember." The technician paused. "That is acceptable." Kellan pointed at the orb. "Call it the Crooked Lullaby." "That does not describe its structure." "No, but it'll stick." They made no objection. He returned to the keyboard and began rehearsing again, and the map sang back. The launch bay looked like a cathedral built by someone who had never seen gravity. Columns of light bent in slow spirals from the ceiling, illuminating walkways that curved without rails or visible supports. Kellan stood in a suit that felt like it had been grown rather than stitched, the fabric breathing under his skin, adjusting to his pulse. Tarsik emerged from a wall that wasn't a door until it decided to be one. The alien's movements had grown slower since their last trip, as if the station's atmosphere was denser than its body preferred. "You are aligned?" Tarsik asked, its eyes a dimmer shade than before. "Mostly." "One of the cords I tied to a memory shifted in my sleep. I had to rethread it using a different association. It's holding now." "What did you use?" The smell of burnt coffee and the sound of a screen door slamming on a windy day. Tarsik didn't ask for clarification. Instead, it gestured toward a narrow bridge that extended into the vessel waiting beyond. The courier ship was smaller than the one from before, its hull almost translucent, revealing internal conduits pulsing with yellow light. "You will not be alone," Tarsik said. "The vessel contains a crew of 3. They are not navigators. They cannot assist you." "That's comforting. They are present to maintain the cargo's stability. You must not interact with the cargo." "What is it?" "Encrypted seed data for a replication node. It will rebuild lost relay points. So no pressure. You are cleared to depart in 4 time pulses." Kellan walked the bridge, feeling the shift in air as he crossed into the ship. The interior adjusted to him. A seat rose from the floor, and a panel unfolded to display a quiet heartbeat of stars. The crew, 2 tall figures with flat faces and a third that moved like it was underwater, nodded once and returned to their stations without acknowledging him further. He sat down, fingers twitching. The sequence was there, but it was delicate, a melody balanced on intuition and muscle memory more than logic. The route had to be performed, not just remembered. The ship vibrated once, then detached from the bay. 5 minutes into the flight, the stars outside began to stretch. not warp stretch like taffy pulled across a cosmic countertop. He slid on a headset that had molded itself to his skull earlier during pre-check and hummed a low tone to prime his breath. The first segment was already ticking along in the background, autopilot guiding the vessel until the gravity distortions made automation impossible. 32 minutes later, the first shift hit. The ship bucked sideways. Not violently, but enough to make one of the crew brace against a bulkhead. Kellan started singing, matching his tone to the vibration pattern in the floor. Every harmonic corrected the ship's course. The vessel responded like a living thing, rotating subtly with each phrase. The crew didn't speak. They didn't need to. The second segment required a tempo change. He adjusted, his voice moving into a syncopated rhythm that mimicked the pulse of a binary star's decay. The ship veered upward, avoiding a gravitational sinkhole the size of a planetary system. The third segment began to drift literally. The melody warped in his head as the stellar data updated. One of the stars had collapsed 10 hours earlier than predicted. He scrambled to re-anchor the chord progression, tying it to a memory he hadn't used in years, the clink of his grandmother's spoon on chipped ceramic. The pitch settled. The ship corrected. 2 hours passed. His throat was dry. He took brief sips from the hydration tube embedded in the seat, careful not to break rhythm. The crew moved only when needed, adjusting field stabilizers and monitoring the cargo's containment bubble. The third, the one that moved like fluid, occasionally emitted a sound like boiled water sighing into cold metal. The fourth segment required improvisation. He had rehearsed it, sure, but now the route twisted in a way no simulation had accounted for. A rogue debris field had drifted into a trajectory corridor. No time to detour. No time to recalculate. He shifted keys mid-phrase, layering a second melody under the first, allowing the ship to interpret the harmonic interference as a new path. The crew braced. One of them let out a low murmur but otherwise kept steady. The ship dipped, skimmed the outer edge of the debris field and came out clean. He exhaled hard. The final segment was next. It was the shortest but required pinpoint accuracy. The approach vector to the replication node was unstable. One wrong tone and the ship would bypass it entirely, leaving the cargo adrift in a dead sector. He slowed his breath, matched the pitch to the beat of his own pulse. The final melody had no words, but if it had, they would have meant something like arrival, like relief. The ship turned, twisted once, and stopped, docking clamps engaged. The hum in the floor ceased. The crew moved quickly, securing the cargo and triggering the replication protocol. Lights dimmed across the console, replaced with a pulsing green ring that indicated success. Kellan didn't speak. He sat there, eyes closed, letting the silence settle over him. The song was still in his head, but it had begun to dissolve like mist lifting off a lake. Tarsik's voice came through the calm. Complete. You have restored continuity. Kellan removed the headset. I'm done. Yes. You may now return. I mean it. I'm done. No more songs, no more maps, no more cosmic math through interpretive humming. I need to go home. Understood. The ship turned slowly, aligning with the return corridor. The stars began to shift back into familiar patterns. 3 hours later, he stood on cracked earth again, the same stretch of desert, the same dry wind. His truck was exactly where he left it. Tarsik watched from a shimmer in the air, visible only to him. You will remember this, it said. Not all of it, he replied. Some of it's already fading. That is good, he nodded, then paused. You ever going to tell me why you didn't just build a better machine? We tried. Machines forget. And humans don't. Humans remember meaning. He didn't argue. He got in the truck, turned the key. The radio flicked on, static, then a station. A song he hadn't heard since college. He let it play. At home, his cat blinked at him from the windowsill, tail twitching once in acknowledgement. Inside, he poured a glass of water, sat down. The melody was gone, not lost, just no longer needed. He didn't need to sing. The stars could find their way now.